Hey everybody, it's Tayshawn Miller, and today I will be doing I feel like it's a extremely important video concerning bearded dragons. So if you have a bearded dragon or you're thinking about getting a bearded dragon as a pet, stick around. There seems to be a very big trend of having bearded dragons as pets, and I think what people should do is do their research before purchasing this gorgeous animal. I myself, before I decided to get my daughter and I our pet bearded dragon, I did research for about 2.5 to 3 weeks before I purchased the bearded dragon. And I believe honestly that that's what saved us, because purchasing a bearded dragon from a pet store versus a breeder could be very dangerous, simply because some of the people that work at the pet store absolutely know nothing about bearded dragons. As a matter of fact, half of the people that work at the pet store don't know anything about pets. They're just there for a paycheck. They're just there for a job. I'm not saying all people, because there are some very passionate people that work in pet stores that know about the animals and they can really help you. However, I am speaking on the percentage of people that don't know anything, hence the reason I'm doing this video. When I first went to get my bearded dragon, I asked a bunch of questions that I already even knew answers to. I just wanted to see what the people were going to tell me at the pet store, and I was just blown away by how dumbfounded these people were, and they are selling these animals. The first thing I did was mention to them that I wanted a bearded dragon, that I wanted one that wasn't so big, but I didn't want like a baby one, because I didn't want to have a baby. So I was told by the pet store originally that they get the animals, they don't know where they come from, that they just get them shipped to them and then they sell them. So this particular day they had a sale on the bearded dragons. They had regular bearded dragons and they had fancy bearded dragons. They didn't have any more regular bearded dragons. They only had the fancy bearded dragons. So I asked what was the difference, and nobody knew. Not even the manager. Nobody knew what the difference was. There was one guy that did come up and he was like that the difference was that they have an orange stripe. And I'm like, it has to be more than just a stripe that makes it a regular bearded dragon and a fancy bearded dragon. We really wanted it so bad, and we didn't want to wait again, and the sale was going to be going off, so we went ahead and we decided to purchase the bearded dragon. Now initially I asked them to help me to get some kind of specialist to help me get everything that I would need, and here's where things got really confusing and ugly. These people basically didn't know what to tell me to get. You know, things that are critical that I had to find out on my own for bearded dragons. Number one is super important, their lighting. So initially when I got my bearded dragon and I got his lighting, which at the time I thought he was a she, they did not mention to me that I needed a UVB light. They only told me to get 2 lights, which I purchased at that time. One was a purple night light. They told me to cut that one on at night. And the other light was a basking light, which they gave me a 100-watt light. And at this time, my bearded dragon was like this. He was really tiny, 2.5 inches at the most. I brought it because that's what they told me to get, because, you know, I'm thinking that they knew everything. Told me, oh, I can just get a little 10-gallon cage. And I'm thinking to myself, 10 gallons seems kind of small. I'm going to just go ahead and get a 20-gallon. And they were like, well, you don't have to really get a 20-gallon, but if you want to, then that's fine. So, yeah, I went ahead and got a 20-gallon, and they didn't tell me anything as far as bearded dragon food went. Only thing they tried to do was sell me some canned crickets and some canned worms. And I kind of was like, no, I'd rather get live animals, because I did some research and I see that they said live food is better. They didn't want to sell me anything. I had to go on the aisle myself and get a cricket keeper, because I was thinking to myself, well, how in the heck am I going to keep these crickets? Because, you know, you can't just go buy a bearded dragon and then come home with crickets. I mean, the crickets cannot roam around your house. So I purchased a cricket keeper on my own, and this is where I keep my crickets at. And this particular cricket keeper comes with two little containers within this big container, and it also has two, like, let me show you guys. Okay, so it also has these little slidey things here that has like a little window, like a telescope, where you can see through it. But you take this and you slide this into the door like so. You wait for a couple of crickets to crawl up. When they crawl up, you pull this out, and you can use, it comes with some additional caps. You can cap it off and just shake it into the tank, or just carry it to the tank and give the crickets to the tank. They told me nothing about purchasing this thing, which means I would have probably came home and just had crickets, you know, all in the cage, just hopping all around. And that's a dangerous thing, because I have seen these crickets bite my bearded dragon. So that's not really a good thing. Because they never told me I needed a UVB light, my bearded dragon was in his tank for about, I want to say, 2 weeks without a UVB light. And then I, did some more research on how critical a UVB light was, and found out that it was like top notch. Like, besides calcium, it was top notch critical for a bearded dragon to have a UVB light. So I went back to a different pet store, not the same one, and I explained to them the situation, and the people were totally like blown away that these individuals sold me a bearded dragon and no UVB light. I got the UVB light, and I told them what wattage I had for the basking light. And when I told them that they sold me 100 watts, they literally were like, "Are you kidding me? You could fry your baby bearded dragon because he's so tiny." He gave me a 50 watt light for the basking. I don't know if you can see the 50 watts right there on the back. And what I did was, I wanted to be sure that I had the proper lighting, so I just brought another one, which is a 75 watt, because just in case the 50 wasn't enough or the 75 may be too hot, I can kind of alternate it. And I still have my UVB light, which, by the way, is a 13 watt, and I have a 20-gallon tank. They don't tell you how critical it is to give your baby beardies 80% live food, 20% veggies. And then, of course, as the bearded dragon gets older, then it will switch, and then it will be 80% vegetables and 20% live food. That is something I had to find out on my own. Now, my bearded dragon, I have had him now for almost 4.5 weeks. And I can't believe how big he's gotten within those 4.5 weeks. The first 2 weeks I had him, I was a complete nervous wreck. I did a lot of worrying because he wasn't eating. No one told me that when they're in a new environment that they don't want to eat, that they're a little scared because of the change. And just strictly as being a bearded dragon and a baby at that, they kind of have a problem with eating their greens. Like, you have to kind of, get them to eat their greens. I would suggest that you do whatever works for you. What worked for me was, one day I figured out, after taking him out of the tank, Levi, and petting him and then putting him back in right next to his food, it prompted him to want to eat his food. How I get him to eat now, I can just put his food in there and he'll just eat it. As far as crickets go and like mealworms and stuff, and it's been now 4 weeks since I've had these same mealworms, and I saw so much negativity about the mealworms on the internet, so I kind of was very skeptical. Probably out of this whole container, he's had about maybe 4 mealworms his whole life, and that's because I've read on the internet that it's really bad for them to eat the mealworms because of the exoskeleton that it could, I guess the texture of it could kind of get caught in their throat and things like that. Another thing that I want to mention is calcium. Super important. This is what I use for my calcium. It's Repti Calcium by Zoomed. This right here is so important. It's definitely important because if you don't take care of your bearded dragons as far as calcium is concerned, your bearded dragon can get a very ugly disease called metabolic bone disease. And what that is it's a deformity in the bones of the with the bearded dragon. It stops them from walking. It could interfere with the way they play, the way they run. Um, it's just not a good thing. It's a terrible disease, and I'll insert some pictures somewhere along the video while I'm talking. It's not a good thing for a bearded dragon to ever get this bone disease, and that mainly comes from not having two things. Number one, not enough calcium or too much calcium, and not having the proper lighting with the UVB light. Now, if you have the proper lighting, if you have your calcium, and you're taking care of your bearded dragon as you need to, then you should have no problems. Your bearded dragon will grow up nice and healthy and strong. There are going to be some times when some things go on with your bearded dragon, like nobody told me about the eyes bulging. And one day I literally was looking at him, and all of a sudden I saw his eyes get at least 2 to 3 times bigger than they were, and it really scared me. I got nervous. I was about to cry. I thought something was wrong with him, and I found out after researching that bearded dragons like to bulge their eyes to help them to loosen the skin because they're getting ready to shed. And I didn't know that. And right after he did that, about maybe 2 to 3 days after that, I noticed Levi started shedding, and I'll insert some video or pictures of that as well. I'm going to go ahead and get Levi and let you guys see. He's still shedding right now. I'm going to let you guys see how big he is now, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I have Levi here. And with the lighting in the room, I know he still looks small, but he is not small at all. When we originally got him, his head would be like right here by this finger right here, and his body would be probably like right here to this third finger, and then his tail will come. And now his head sticks off of my hand. That's how I keep up with how he's growing. And his body is here, and his tail is just so long. I'm going to try to allow you to see some of his shedding. Let's see if we can show you. If you look, let me try to dim this camera so you can see. Okay, can you see right there, guys? He's shedding right there. It's right there on his little arm. Now, one of the important things is this. When your bearded dragon is shedding, you are not supposed to pull any of his skin. You could damage him. It could hurt him. It could cause interference with his shedding. So just what we've been doing since he's been shedding, today is day 3. What we do is when we give him his bath, we just try to put water on our hands and just kind of like, gently rub it down his little arms and his legs and down his back area so that he could get some of that skin off him, because he does not like it at all. I built a little tomb in there for him, and it's actually made from bricks, and I've caught him several times going on the brick and like scratching his back or like his arms. And when I would look in the cage, I would see skin on the rock or like down on the paper towel where it fell at, and that's because he's taken, tried to scratch it off of him. So definitely you can help them out with bathing them and things like that, because it is itchy to them. You guys want more videos on bearded dragons with Levi and his growth and regimens and things like that, with us taking him on. He goes with us everywhere. I have a little heated bag where I keep him in when we go out. So if you guys want any more videos or vlogs and things like that, please let me know, and we will gladly do the video. I'm gonna put him up here and we'll see what he does. Yeah, you get to see how big he is here with me having him up now. You get to see how big he is. He's definitely not so small anymore. All right, you guys, so we've enjoyed you guys, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye.